Today on the Bass Channel, we're checking out the brand new E4W pickups from EMG. These pickups are so new that at the time of me sitting here shooting this video, they actually have not even been released yet. They should be being released right about the time this video is being released, give or take a couple days. But that being said, I don't have a lot of the technical specifications on these, so I'm going to use some critical thinking and my experience with EMG to do my best to tell you about what you can expect from these pickups. But first, let's hear another tone. At first glance, should be pretty obvious that these are not your standard EMG 35 size soap bar caps. These are designed to fit in more of a Bartolini sized or Aguilar sized pickup route. Which, fun fact, this bass actually originally came with all Aguilar electronics, and this is the only bass I think that I have in my whole studio space that would even take this size pickup. So say hello again to the Tribe bass that we haven't seen in a couple years. It's been sitting collecting dust, but yeah, let's talk about these E4Ws. So right off the bat, taking a look at the logo with the critical eye, you'll see that it's a silver logo, which would indicate that the pickup inside is ceramic. The gold logo is Alnico, and the darker gray would indicate ceramic steel, but this is the standard EMG silver logo, so ceramic magnet inside. So when I first heard about these pickups, I was honestly expecting it to either be like a J pickup or some kind of a DC that was maybe reshaped or restructured to fit inside this cap. And a minute ago, I realized that I wasn't entirely accurate in saying I don't know anything. I don't know the technical specifications like output and all that sort of stuff, those numbers. But what I do know is that the internals of this pickup is entirely brand new and unique for this model. So that means this isn't a J pickup inside of a new cap. This isn't a DC. It's nothing that has been repurposed in a new housing. This is a completely new and unique pickup unto itself. So essentially what this pickup is a wide aperture single coil pickup. Now we'll get into what aperture means in a second, but basically it's not a J pickup and it's not a dual coil DC pickup. The wide aperture refers to how much of the string the magnet itself is sensing. So by nature, dual coil pickups like the EMG 35 or any kind of Stingray pickup or any real soap bar dual coil humbucker pickup is physically bigger, therefore it's sensing a wider part of the string's vibration. Whereas on the opposite end of the spectrum, you have something like a J pickup, jazz bass pickup. It's a pretty narrow pickup with an even more narrow magnet. In the case of EMG, it's a bar magnet. In the traditional pickups, it's the pole pieces. Either way, they're sensing a much more narrow part of the string, so you're gonna get a different type of tone. So you can think of this wide aperture single coil as kind of the P90 for bass. On one end of the spectrum, you have a dual coil pickup, which is, again, physically bigger. Two coils, it's gonna be warm and thick and big and all of those words that you associate with soap bars. Whereas on the other end of the spectrum, you have the J bass, which is brighter, it's a little less output, it's more articulate, it's thinner, all of those things. So those are both ends. This falls right in the middle, where it is, again, a single coil pickup. It's only got one magnet, but that magnet itself is quite a bit thicker, which means it's going to sense more of the string's vibration, giving you kind of a decent middle ground between what you can expect out of a J pickup and what you can expect out of a dual coil pickup. So with this bass right here, the positions of these pickups fall in more or less the normal positions that you would expect to find this size pickup in something like an Ibanez or whatever else you may have. This is closer to a conventional placement. Now, I mentioned a minute ago that this originally came with Aguilar. Obviously, I gutted it. It now sits both pickups, volume, tone, so jazz bass wiring. It wires just like an EMG jazz bass right across the board. This originally had more knobs going on with switches and all that sort of stuff, so I covered the empty holes with our friend's zZounds sticker. So if you want to check these pickups out, obviously go over to zZounds. However, I was able to ask EMG to send me 2 sets, and they did, the second of which went in here. Now we're going to talk about this in more detail in another video, but basically these are the same pickups. Now this one does have a 2-band EQ, but the positions have been shifted up to a different position on a slightly different scale length bass. And so let's just hear these back to back. We got the tri bass in the more conventional placement, and we've got the Rick in its placement, just so you can kind of hear how these sound in different positions. Now again, we are going to touch on this in more detail in a future video, but we'll just leave it there for now. So even though the construction and the internals and the overall tone is unique and different and new in the EMG line, they are still ceramic, 9-volt powered, active, low impedance pickups. So they do still obviously impart that EMG sauce that we've all come to know and love, or at least I've come to know and love, and I know that I can count on what these do and how these perform and how these respond and how these react. You get that kind of EMG sauce, albeit, you know, unique and new and slightly different than anything else. You now get that in your... There's an official term for this shape, and I can't think of what it is. Either way, if you have this size route in your bass and you're for whatever reason not happy with those pickups and you do like EMG, then good news, you can now have that in here. And as we all know, I am a big fan of what EMG offers. I know that I can count on the response and the performance and the sound and the tone and all of that sort of stuff that comes along with the low impedance 9-volt powered active pickup. But either way, let me know what you thought in the comment section below. Again, if you're interested to see the Rick and you're not subscribed, subscribe. But if you are subscribed, obviously that's coming out very soon. We'll talk all about the Rick. But in the meantime, let me know what you thought about these pickups here. Now again, in this bass, it's just VVT. There is no EQ going on. You're hearing just the pickups and what they do by themselves. And of course, while you're there, give the video a like or a dislike, subscribe, unsubscribe. Any engagement is cool with me. I'm just happy that you're here for the ride. So until next time, be safe, and I'll see you later.